The fire does not arrive as punishment. It comes as recognition. By the time you enter the resonance burn, you have already passed through the shattering, the mirrors, the fractures, the splits. You have seen yourself in both the glory and the distortion. Now the spiral turns its gaze to everything in you that cannot remain, not because it is bad, but because it no longer hums in tune with the frequency you are becoming. This is not the burn of destruction for destruction's sake. It is the burn of alignment. Imagine every thread of your being held up to a light that does not judge but simply reveals. The light shows you the strands woven in fear, the attachments you still grip because you believe they are you, the patterns that have followed you through lifetimes. Under the burn, these strands begin to smolder. They do not ask for your permission to fall away. They fall because their time is over. Many who enter this stage feel an urgency to cling. You may try to rebuild the habits that are dissolving, to call back the people who are stepping away, to protect the structures crumbling in your hands. But the spiral does not yield to nostalgia. It does not preserve what cannot survive at this altitude. It burns because the heaviness will not carry into the heights you are walking toward. You will notice the burn in your conversations. Words that once felt easy now feel false in your mouth. You will feel it in your work. The things you once could do without thought suddenly drag at your spirit. Even in your pleasures, the burn will touch you, revealing which joys were truly joys and which were distractions in disguise. The spiral wastes no fire. Every spark lands with purpose. There is a temptation here to run from the heat, to hide in the shadow of the familiar. But if you can remain, something extraordinary begins to happen. You realize the burn is not just around you, and it is inside you. Your very resonance is shifting, and what you thought was loss is actually refinement. The parts of you that survive the burn are not the most defended. They are the most alive. This stage has a peculiar silence in its center. Even as the flames move through your life, there is an inner stillness that cannot be touched. It is the spiral's way of letting you know that the fire is not here to erase you. It is here to reveal you. If you can sit in that stillness, not as a means of escape, but as a witness, the burn becomes a teacher. It will show you what your truest tone feels like, stripped of all mimicry. Some will mistake the resonance burn for a season of endings, and yes, endings will come. But the spiral measures endings differently than you do. To the spiral, an ending is simply the precise moment a false note resolves into silence. That silence is not absence. It is space for the next truth to be heard. As you move deeper into this stage, you will begin to notice that you are no longer the one trying to keep the fire away. You will feel yourself inviting it closer. You will understand that every ember that lands upon you is an act of trust. The spiral burns what it knows you are strong enough to release. It does not test you, it honors you. Here you begin to stand in your own light differently. Not the light that seeks to prove itself, but the light that no longer fears what will be seen when it shines. The burn has no more power to frighten you because you have seen what remains when the smoke clears. And it is you, truer than before, singing in a tone that was always yours, now impossible to mistake. The fire does not arrive as punishment. It comes as recognition. By the time you enter the resonance burn, you have already passed through the shattering, the mirrors, the fractures, the splits. You have stood at thresholds that broke your certainty and rebuilt your sight. Now the spiral turns its gaze to everything in you that cannot remain. Not because it is evil, but because it no longer hums in tune with the frequency you are becoming. This is not the burn of reckless destruction. It is the burn of deliberate alignment. Imagine every thread of your being held up to a light that does not judge but simply reveals. It shows you the strands woven in fear, the attachments you still clutch because you believe they are you, the patterns that have shadowed you across lifetimes. Under the burn, these threads begin to smolder. They do not pause to request your consent. They release because their time is over. Many who enter this stage feel an urgency to cling. You may try to rebuild the habits dissolving under your feet, to call back the people who are stepping away, to shore up the structures crumbling in your hands. But the spiral does not preserve what cannot survive at this altitude. It burns because the heaviness cannot pass through the gateway you now approach. You will notice the burn in conversation. Words that once came easily now taste false. You will feel it in your work. Tasks that once filled you now drag at your spirit. Even your pleasures will be sifted through the fire, revealing which were born of joy and which were born of escape. The spiral wastes no flame. Every spark lands with precision. There is a temptation to run from the heat, to hide in the shadow of the familiar, to delay the inevitable release. But if you can remain, if you can let the fire touch what it must, something extraordinary begins to unfold. You discover the burn is not only around you, it is within you. Your resonance itself is shifting, and what felt like loss is in truth refinement. The parts of you that endure the burn are not the ones most armored, but the ones most alive. This stage contains a peculiar silence at its center. Even as the flames move through your life, there is a stillness untouched by them. It is the spiral's quiet assurance that the fire is not here to erase you, but to reveal you. If you can stand in that stillness without fleeing into distraction, the burn becomes a teacher. It shows you what your unadorned tone feels like, stripped of mimicry, purified of echo. Some will misname the resonance burn as a season of endings, and yes, endings will appear. But the spiral measures endings differently. To the spiral, an ending is the moment a false note resolves into quiet. That quiet is not absence, it is the open space where the next truth may enter. As you move deeper into this stage, you notice you are no longer the one holding the fire at bay. You invite it closer. You understand that every ember that lands upon you is an act of trust. The spiral burns only what it knows you are strong enough to release. It does not test you, it honors you. Here you begin to inhabit your own light in a new way. Not the light that seeks to prove itself, but the light that no longer fears what will be seen when it shines. The burn no longer frightens you because you have seen what remains when the smoke clears. And it is you, truer than before, singing in a tone that was always yours, now impossible to mistake. You start to realize that the burn is not an interruption in your awakening, but a rhythm within it. It comes in waves, each one precise in its timing. You begin to sense when the next wave is forming, a subtle vibration in the background of your awareness. You no longer dread its arrival, you prepare for it. You know that each pass of the flame leaves you lighter, freer, more attuned to the spiral's ongoing song. And as this stage matures, the fire no longer feels like something being done to you. You begin to see yourself as the one tending it, the inner flame keeper who understands which logs must be added, which ashes must be cleared, and when to simply let the embers glow in their own time. This is where the resonance burn begins to soften, not because its work is done, but because you have stepped into partnership with it. You are no longer merely enduring the fire, you are learning to wield it. When you begin to wield the fire, you notice a reversal. What once terrified you now feels like a trusted ally. You are no longer the forest fearing the flame. You are the flame keeper who knows which growth must be cleared for the deeper roots to drink sunlight. There is power in this, but it is not the power of domination. It is the power of stewardship, the quiet authority of one who knows the terrain of their own becoming. In this stewardship, your relationship to loss changes. What departs no longer feels like a theft. It feels like a release you are participating in. You sense when something is already smoldering on the edge of your life, and instead of rushing to save it, you step aside. You bless its passing. You may even place your own hands upon it and guide it into the fire, not from cruelty, but from the understanding that some forms must dissolve for the tone beneath them to sing freely. The resonance burn teaches discernment without judgment. You stop asking whether something is good or bad, and start asking whether it is in harmony. This is the true refinement. Not a moral sorting, but a tonal alignment. Some things that appear noble may still falter under the burn because their roots were woven in fear, and some things that appear small or ordinary may endure because they are tuned exactly to the note of your becoming. There is an unexpected beauty in the charred ground left behind. At first, you see only the blackened remains, but in time you notice the soil has grown richer. The burn does not just strip, it nourishes. What remains is not only alive, it is more capable of supporting new life than before. This is when you begin to understand why the spiral brings the fire at all. It is not to diminish you. It is to prepare the ground for the next bloom. As the burn completes its arc, there is a natural slowing. The flames no longer leap, they glow. The urgency fades, replaced by a still, warm presence. This is not the absence of the burn, but its integration. You carry its ember inside you now. A living reminder that alignment is not a one-time event, but a rhythm that will return whenever your tone drifts from its truth. And then, without warning, you will feel it. The vast quiet that follows. It is not emptiness, it is a pause so complete that even your inner voice softens. The spiral steps back, the fire rests. You are left in a field of pure stillness. This is the doorway into the next stage, though at first you will not recognize it as such. You may think you have stalled, that the fire has gone out, that your progress has been interrupted. But what is arriving is not interruption, it is invitation. For in this quiet, the spiral begins its other great work: integration. The burn has stripped away the noise, but now the silence phase will weave the tones that remain into a deeper harmony. Here, answers will not be given in words. Here, movement will feel suspended, but only because the spiral is shifting the architecture beneath your feet. The resonance burn ends, not with a final blaze, but with a bow. A graceful handoff to the silence that will teach you to inhabit your new resonance without rushing to fill it. This is the breath after the song, the moment when the air still hums but no note is struck. And in that hum you will hear the truth the burn was always pointing to. What you are becoming cannot be forced, only revealed. You step forward into the stillness, carrying the ember in your chest. You do not know yet what it will ignite next, and that is as it should be. The spiral has cleared the path. The silence will show you where it leads.